Let me tell you an interesting story. Have you heard about this math teacher in Florida?
No, no.
These stories can go one of two ways.
Yeah, yeah. Did dog was he on Dog the Bounty Hunter? I'm not. I mean, this could go a bunch of different ways. Yeah. Is there a funny like viral video of him in a 7-Eleven?
No, so get this. So Brandon was telling me about this. This is kind of amazing. So there's this guy. Okay, so those like kind of like school competitions, whether it's spelling bee or math competitions or whatever. So there's this math competition. And there's this kind of strange thing going on where one small school, it's not a private school, has won like 15 out of the last 17 of these math competitions. And people were like, God, what is going on at like Buckholes High School? And the story is kind of amazing. So there's this guy, Will Frazer. He starts as a banker on Wall Street. And he's doing like bond trading or something like that. And the guy's, this is like in the 80s. He's like, this is the heyday of where, you've ever read those books like Liar's Poker and things like that. It's like the heyday of Wall Street. People are making tons of money. He retires by 27. So he's made a bunch of money. He's like, dude, this is too stressful of a lifestyle.
How much did he make?
I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know exactly how much he made, but enough to retire at 27. So let's assume it's, like I would say 10 million at least.
Okay.
That's my guess. So he buys a Ferrari. He drives down to Florida. He's like just dreaming of like a slower, calmer life. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Florida, bought this Ferrari. I'm going to just play a bunch of golf, play a bunch of basketball, and I'm just going to hang out.
Do Ferrari
he does
shit.
That.
Yeah.
For a decade, he's, that guy you see on like Tuesday at 1 p.m. just like hanging out at the park, and you're just like, how you don't have a job? Like, what's going on? He's that guy. And he does it for 10 years. No income. 10 years, he's just chilling. And he plays a bunch of golf. And along the way, he's sort of like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm feeling a little aimless. Don't have a great purpose in my life at this point. So he's like, he reaches out to a local high school. And he's like, hey, can I teach golf over there? They're like, sure. And he comes over and teaches golf. He's like, I like teaching, actually. Even on Wall Street, I liked teaching the young guys. So he's like, what else? Can I teach like a finance class? I'm a former Wall Street guy, made it big, retired. Can I teach a finance? They're like, no, we don't have finance, but you can become a math teacher if you want. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And so he goes and becomes a math teacher. And he walks in on day one and he's like, listen, let me tell you this right now. I don't need this job. You guys give me any shit? This will be my last day. And they're like, okay, respect. And so he gets one day, he's like checking his mailbox as a teacher and he sees this math competition coming up. He's like, oh, like, that's cool. Let's try this. So he enters into the math competition. They go there and they get smoked. They get 5th out of 6th place. So they're second to last. And he's like, dude, I couldn't even solve some of these problems. Like, this was hard. But like the switch got flipped. The competitive switch in him gets flipped. And he's just like, actually, I liked that competition. I missed the competition of Wall Street, where it was just like completely dog eat dog and you were like high intensity. And so he decides to do it again and again and again. And he goes and they get 5th the next time. Then they get 3rd and so on and so forth. And he basically decides that we are going to dominate these competitions. And that's exactly what's happened.
Dude, isn't that
now
the best?
They've won
where like
15 out of 17.
The 15 out of 17. Isn't that the best when someone just like sees like a small opportunity and they're like, no one takes this as seriously as we're going to take this. Let's do it. You know what I mean? I love that.
That's exactly what
just
happened.
like that cheerleading movie that we watched on Netflix. That it's like they just like take it. Yeah, they take it to the highest
that one
degree.
I discovered.
Yeah, the one that you made popular.
So the guy, so people are like, dude, what's your secret? What are you doing differently? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, I just took a different level of intensity. He's like, it's just insane hard work. He goes, average math teacher gets 72 hours of classroom time with their students per semester. And then they hope that after school, some of those kids come and they learn for an hour, once a week or whatever. That's what they're putting in. He goes, oh, I just switched it. First, I took all the good math kids. I put them in the same class, kind of like almost like, like blended of age. But he's like, I put all the best people in the same class so they would compete with each other. Then we used our class time to start preparing for these competitions. Then I started creating summer camps where we could get 80 hours in 4 weeks. So the equivalent of a full semester of teaching in this high intensity thing. He's like, and I just developed a program because they're like, are you the best at math? He's like, no, I don't even teach the advanced math stuff. Like one of my former students teaches like the hard stuff. I just build the program. He's like, I put the high school students with the middle school students. And that because the middle school students sort of idolize the high schoolers, and they teach down, and then the middle schoolers rise up. He's like, so I built this program where one alumni, basically like the older kids teach the younger kids, the younger teach the even younger kids. And we just put in way more time. He's like, then I started scouting, like this is like, Alabama football. So he'll go and he'll look at the scores of other schools, and he'll find the high performing kids and he'll recruit them to his program.
Crazy.
And then the reputation got built where they started winning. So now parents are coming inbound and being like, please take my kid. And he's like, we only have so many spots. I'm sorry. And so he's built this like talent pipeline. And not only that, the talent pipeline goes even further. Now companies like McKinsey and the big banks, Wall Street, they come recruit from his high school. The big schools, Ivy Leagues,
for interns
come
and
recruit
shit,
from his high school because they want his students now. So he built like a platform for where they can go, which helps them recruit even better students. And so
where'd you see
like
this
when
story?
COVID happened, what's that?
Where'd you read this?
It's just like, I think that, so it's been in just like the local Florida news for a while. And then I saw something.
Yeah, but what were you doing?
Brandon sent me an article.
Who's Brandon?
No, he sent this article from the Wall Street Journal or something. It was like paywall. So I only got the first paragraph. I'm too cheap to pay for it. But I was like, oh, what's the story? And then I found all these local Florida papers that had the rest. And so they said like during COVID, they were like, oh, you got to teach remotely. And he's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to downgrade the intensity. He's like, hell no, I resign. And then he went to a church, rented out the church, and was like, hey, if you guys want to come and train here, we could do this. And 140 kids went and trained daily in his church during COVID when everybody else had to lower their intensity. He ratcheted it
How
up.
old is this guy now?
So now he's like in his 60s. And so he's been doing this now for like, a number of years. So he was basically 27. He took 10 years off. So he's closer to 40, 10, 11 years off. And then basically from 40 to 60, he's just been dominating this one thing. Isn't this incredible?
This is incredible. I think there's a few things. One, just the intensity. Number two, I think sometimes if you pick, like a lot of people, including me, we want to move to San Francisco, New York, LA, and try to become like a medium-sized fish in a big pond. I think there's so much to be said about being the best or a big fish in a little pond, and like you can make a name for yourself and have a way better life. Like this random dude is having so much more impact by creating being like the guy for like this very small math contest versus, a rich. He's probably way more fulfilled than being just like another $100 million banker.
Dude, I want to get diagnosed with a bad case of SPS. I want small pond syndrome. And like